And the six runners have in fact won more than £500,000 in prize money, in winning prize money alone between them. Six runners in, confirmation that number 1 Brigon is a non-runner. Number 3 is $50 more, ridden by Richard Dinley. Number 4 Foxbury, ridden by Mrs. Linda Sheedy. Number 5 Little Owl, ridden by Mr. Jim Wilson. Number 6 Night Nurse, ridden by John Joe O'Neill. Number 7 Silver Buck, ridden by Robert Earnshaw. And number 8 Wayward Lad, ridden by John Frankham. Six runners in for this King George VI chase.
And it's easy to...
Well, I would say he's better than he was definitely 2 years ago, definitely. But not quite as well as he was in the Gold Cup. He was really bang on in the Gold Cup. He just missed a little bit of preparation when he hurt his hock. But he's not too bad.
What about Wayward Lad? He looked very impressive last time.
Yes, well, he's in very good form. He ran a super race last time, a 12 stone in a Kinnick construction race. I was delighted that day because he beat a lot of very good chasers quite a long way. I mean, we've sort of beaten fair and square by Observe, but he ran a marvellous race with top weight. Will he get the trip? That's the question, isn't it? We think so, but we aren't certain. On his pedigree...
For the six runners for the King George VI chase, can he do it for a record third time? I personally think Little Owl may be just too strong for him today, but it adds up to a really fascinating steeplechase. Here's John Oaksey.
Well, there he is, the best steeplechaser in training, as Ruff says, and as Michael Dickinson's already said. It's perfectly possible that Little Owl may re-establish his claim to that title today, but just at the moment, Silver Buck, the reigning Gold Cup winner, is the best steeplechaser in training. He's won 28 of his 37 races. He also won once on the flat and 2 pointer points. He's won much, much more often than he's been beaten. And there's every evidence to show that he's at least as good as ever this year, if not better. His last race at Haydock, the third of this season, was particularly impressive when he gave Borough Hill Lad 21 pounds and beat him very easily indeed. So there he is, Silver Buck and Robert Earnshaw. I fully expect to find him favourite, but let's find out and have a look at the betting.
Yes, indeed, Silver Buck, the 5-4 favourite, Little Owl 5-2, Wayward Lad 7-2, $50 more, a 9-1 chance, Night Nurse at 14s, and Foxbury's the outsider, 200-1. All six are quoted.
And there in front of Silver Buck is my own great favourite, Night Nurse. Well, unfortunately, Kempton on Boxing Day, if Night Nurse happens to know that it's Boxing Day today, I'm afraid he may recognise Kempton, because it's been an unhappy place indeed for him. Several years ago, he had a crashing fall at the last hurdle in the Christmas hurdle, which ended poor Paddy Broderick's career. And then, if you were watching earlier, you saw that 2 years ago, the King George VI, he made a terrible mistake at the third last, but was still battling back into the race. And in my view, if he'd jumped the last, he would have beaten Silver Buck that day. But instead, he hit it really hard, and Alan Brown couldn't stay aboard. Well, now he's got his old friend John Joe back. Unfortunately, Night Nurse pulled up in the Hennessy the other day. I suppose he may be feeling the strain of his long career. But anyway, my heart will be riding with him and hoping he has a happy race, if not a victorious one. That's Night Nurse. Let's have a look at Little Owl. There he is, just on Night Nurse's left. Jim Wilson taking him to look at the first fence. Well, for Little Owl too, Kempton's been an unhappy place, because last year was the sensational and much discussed day. A lot of stupid things were said about it, when Jim couldn't get him round the bend past the stands, and it ended up by pulling him up. But as Michael Dickens has already said, Little Owl won the Gold Cup 2 years ago, fair and square as a 7-year-old, and last season he was undoubtedly wrong for the whole of the season. Like many, if not all, of Peter Easterby's horses, he had the virus in one form or another, and was never anything like the horse he had been the season before, or, happily, the horse he is now. Now he's been hobdayed. It seems to have worked, an operation on his wind, and in both his races this season, at Nottingham, and then at Haydock when he beat an admittedly off-colour Brigon. Brigon didn't jump well that day. Nevertheless, Little Owl beat him handily, and Michael Silverbuck's trainer's already said it's entirely possible that Little Owl is as good as ever, in which case he'd be a terrible danger. Another look at the betting.
Little Owl steady in the market at 5-2. More money for Silverbuck, now 11-10 favourite from 5-4. Wayward Lad is 130 from 7-2. $50 more steady at 9-1. Night Nurse at 14s. Foxbury a 200-1 chance, and that's the outsider, and all 6 are quoted.
There's John Frankham riding Wayward Lad for the very first time, and that makes a fascinating combination because, as Michael Dickinson again said, the doubt about Wayward Lad is his stamina, but this easy 3 miles ought to suit him perfectly, and so should John Frankham suit him perfectly, and on his day he's got a turn of speed, well, anyway, one which even Silverbuck might be afraid of. He's run marvellous races this season, beat Night Nurse first time out. That was no advertisement really, because Night Nurse needed the race, but then was third to $50 more, and that's interesting because he meets him again on £13 better terms, and Wayward Lad made a bad mistake at the second last that day at Cheltenham, and then in his last race he was narrowly and very honourably beaten by Observe in the Kennedy construction chase. If John Frankham can settle him, if he stays the trip, could be a danger to them all. Wayward Lad, let's look at $50 more. No, that's Night Nurse. For a moment, we'll get $50 more in a moment. There he is. I'm sorry, Night Nurse was caught my eye, but this is $50 more. There are the better camouflage of Sheikh Kamsin's colours. Well, he won the Mackerson, and that was a marvellous performance. His first run of the season, and he was still a comparative novice. It wasn't at all an easy ride last year. He used to pull very hard and sometimes take the fences on as well. But Richard Lindley, who now rides the Sheikh's horses, all of them, has gone on really well with $50 more, and rode him beautifully in the Mackerson, got him settled, came through, beat Wayward Lad, although, as I say, as you see, Little Owl's 11-4 from 5-2. As I say, Wayward Lad did make a bad mistake that day. Nevertheless, $50 more won fair and square. And possibly he's the unknown quantity of this field. He's won 10 of his 15 races, and if Richard Lindley can get him round and settled, well, he just might shake them up. Back to John McBurrick in the ring. Oh, there she is, rather, Mrs. Linda Sheedy on Foxbury. They're both female, and as John says, it does appear to need about 14 different miracles for Foxbury to get anywhere near the last of his nearest rivals. I just hope that Mrs. Sheedy will be able to keep her out of their way, keep Foxbury out of the others' way. I'm sure she will. She's a very competent amateur. She's ridden 3 winners already this season. In fact, Foxbury's won 2 races in her time, but not, with respect to her, in this kind of company. So there she is, the rank and well-deserved outsider, followed by Wayward Lad, and there's the great one, Silverbuck. What a marvellous horse to own. Let's see whether he is still favourite.
Silverbuck, the 11-10 favourite. Little Owl 11-4. Wayward Lad now 3-1 from 130, and $50 more at 9-1. Night Nurse at 14s, and Foxbury 200-1. They all show.
The tactics will be interesting. I think that John Joe O'Neill will certainly try to get in front on Night Nurse, provided the old horse is happy there, and that's probably where he's happiest these days. Little Owl is usually up near the leaders, so it'll be no surprise if it's Night Nurse from Little Owl, or maybe the 2 of them going on together. I hope that Night Nurse is able to establish a lead, because that cheers him up, and if he can get his jumping going really well, perhaps a dream will come true. There they are, Night Nurse on this side, Jim Wilson, the tall figure of Jim Wilson, on Little Owl, who was left to him and his brother by his... Over to you, Graham.
And in fact they are under orders, and they're on their way for this King George VI chase. 19 fences to jump, and as they come to the first, Night Nurse leads from Little Owl. Over the first, Night Nurse, Little Owl, Silverbuck, $50 more. Foxbury, and the back marker is Wayward Lad. The second one they take is a ditch. As they come into it, Night Nurse the leader from Little Owl, then Silverbuck at $50 more, Foxbury and Wayward Lad. And the Easterby pair setting quite a strong pace in this 3-mile chase as they swing right-handed and head towards fence number 3, which is a plain fence. Then they have an open ditch, and then 2 more plain fences down the back straight here at Kempton. and Night Nurse in the lead. Night Nurse by some 3 to 4 lengths to Little Owl, 10 clear from Silverbuck, then $50 more. Behind $50 more is Foxbury, who races on the outside of Wayward Lad, being held up by John Frankham to get the trip. Over the third, Night Nurse, a bold jump, Little Owl, then Silverbuck and $50 more, and Foxbury and Wayward Lad. The next one they take is an open ditch, and Night Nurse leads as they come into it. Night Nurse by some 3 lengths to Little Owl. Night Nurse from Little Owl, then Silverbuck and $50 more, and Foxbury and Wayward Lad. And it's Night Nurse going to the 5th plain fence. Night Nurse comes into it from Little Owl. Night Nurse, Little Owl, then Silverbuck, and then $50 more, and then Foxbury, and then Wayward Lad, as they go to the last on the far side for the first time. And Night Nurse from Little Owl, then comes Silverbuck, then $50 more, then Foxbury and Wayward Lad. It's still Night Nurse in the lead, though, having made all the running so far, having jumped 6 fences as they turn into the home straight. And there you can see his advantage over Little Owl, and those pair clear from Silverbuck in third. Then comes $50 more, then Wayward Lad and Foxbury. So they level out into the home straight for the first time, come down towards fence number 7 in this King George VI chase. And Night Nurse on the inside of Little Owl, clear from Silverbuck. This is the 7th. Night Nurse, Little Owl, Night Nurse, Little Owl, then Silverbuck, then $50 more on Wayward Lad. An economical jump there, and then Foxbury coming down towards the 8th. And it's Night Nurse and Little Owl. Night Nurse on the inside of Little Owl, then Silverbuck, then $50 more, then Wayward Lad, and then Foxbury as they come down to the 9th. This will be the last next time round. And the field just taking a little bit closer order now. Night Nurse in the lead, though, just from Little Owl. Night Nurse, Little Owl, then Silverbuck. Then comes $50 more, and behind $50 more is Wayward Lad, and the back marker is Foxbury, and they begin the turn. And this is the point, John Oaksey, that Little Owl, where this is where his bit slipped through his mouth a couple of seasons ago.
Yes, well, I'm glad to say there doesn't seem to be any sign of that happening today. He's going beautifully in second place. Both he and Night Nurse have been jumping magnificently, as indeed the whole field has, really. It's gone very much as we expected. John Joe has got Night Nurse jumping lovely, beautifully in front, but Little Owl's going awfully easily beside him, and now Silverbuck has moved up into close third place. $50 more, and Wayward Lad not far behind them. What's been lovely to watch has been the way Night Nurse has been enjoying himself. I wish he could just produce another gear now and go away from them down the far side. I'm afraid more likely it is that these others will come and swamp him, but it's not over yet. Night Nurse is still in front of Little Owl, Silverbuck closing behind them. $50 more is running a really fine race. John Frankham's got Wayward Lad beautifully settled, but this has been a test of stamina, at least as much as Kempton can ever provide. So, as Little Owl takes over from Night Nurse with Silverbuck in third place, it's all to pay for. Back to you, Graham.
Foxbury, the only one really losing touch, with 7 more fences to jump in the King George VI chase, and Little Owl going on by a length to, in second place, Night Nurse, then comes Silverbuck, then $50 more, and then Wayward Lad. Little Owl over that one. Night Nurse, a slight mistake, and Silverbuck goes into second place. I'm afraid to say Night Nurse finding the temperature just a bit hot as they come down to their last ditch. This is the 14th, and it's Little Owl comes into it. Little Owl, the leader, comes into it, jumps it well. From $50 more, who's going well up on the outside. Silverbuck going equally easily, though, disputing second place as they come down to the 15th fence, the 5 from home. And it's Little Owl from Silverbuck, $50 more, with Wayward Lad getting ever closer. Night Nurse has done his job and is now losing his touch. $50 more, and a slight mistake there. Night Nurse is beginning to weaken. 4 left, really in contention with 4 to jump, and it's Silverbuck who looms up on the inside of Little Owl, and Silverbuck going on from Little Owl with $50 more in third place. Then comes Wayward Lad in fourth. They've just got 3 more fences left to jump in the King George VI chase, and it's Silverbuck in the lead from Little Owl in second place. $50 more is third, then Wayward Lad is fourth, and these 4 well clear from Night Nurse and Foxbury, who is continuing but tailed off. So into the home straight then, 3 to jump, and it's Silverbuck in the lead from Little Owl. $50 more going very well in between these 2. Then Wayward Lad coming down to the third from home. Silverbuck from $50 more. Little Owl looks beaten 3 out. Silverbuck from $50 more. Then Wayward Lad and Little Owl Coming down to the second from home in this, the King George VI chase, and Silverbuck being challenged by $50 more, and Wayward Lad, Silverbuck $50 more. Wayward Lad just one more fence to jump, and the Dickinson pair with Silverbuck and Wayward Lad being challenged by $50 more. Vader's the two between the three. Wayward Lad on the near side, Silverbuck on the far side. $50 more in between these two as they jump the final fence. They're in the air together, they touch down together. $50 more, Wayward Lad and Silverbuck, and it's Wayward Lad on the near side. $50 more fighting back. Wayward Lad from $50 more and Silverbuck. Wayward Lad $50 more, Silverbuck. Wayward Lad wins it from $50 more in second place. Then came Silverbuck in third, and these three well clear from Little Owl, who finished a rather tired fourth, and then came Night Nurse back in fifth place, and Linda Sheedy completed the track to finish sixth and last. And so the result of this, the King George VI chase, is a win for number 8, Wayward Lad, owned by Mrs. S.N. Thewlis, trained at Harewood by Michael Dickinson, giving a superb ride by John Frankham. Second was number 3, $50 more, ridden by Richard Dinley, and third was number 7, Silverbuck, ridden by Robert Earnshaw. Well, the Dickinson domination in this, the King George VI chase continues. This is the 4th time in succession that the Dickinson family have in fact prevailed in this race. They won it in 78 with Gay Spartan, in 79 with Silverbuck, in 1980 with Silverbuck, and as they came into the home straight with 3 to jump, it looked as if Silverbuck was going to make it 3 in a row. But let's review those closing.
Outside, and Richard Lindley on $50 more is still going amazingly well just in behind Silverbuck. Silverbuck still looked to me to have a great chance of winning a third King George at this stage, but the younger horses are beginning to gain on him. $50 more, and on the outside, John Frankham on Wayward Lad. What a beautiful race John's ridden on this horse. He's settled him, conserved his stamina, but it's still going to be needed because $50 more has now taken the lead off Silverbuck. As they go to the last, it's $50 more and Wayward Lad. Both desperately close, coming to it now. Wayward Lad just possibly lands ahead in front, but it's still desperately close. Silverbuck can't do any more. Here comes John Frankham, proving yet again what a champion he is. And Wayward Lad, well, we thought he might not stay 3 miles. Stay it, he loves it. It really suits him, this last 50 yards. He goes away from $50 more for yet another Dickinson victory, the fourth in 5 years in the King George VI. $50 more's run a marvellous race for Sheikh Khamseen, and Silverbuck, needless to say, is a million miles from being disgraced. But this time he was only third. Well, one of 3 marvellous races we've seen.